it's Striker, man. Shout out to everybody out there, man. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Leave a like, leave a comment, and let's get into this, man. So today we are gonna check out, yeah, man, a video from Digital Foundry, man. You know, these guys are experts. So we're gonna check out Grand Theft Auto 6, DF Direct GTA Special, man. Trailer 1 tech breakdown. So these guys break down the tech, break down everything around GT, around trailers and video games in general, bro. Top notch. So yeah, we're gonna check out this video, man. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Leave a like, leave a comment, and yeah, see what they say, man. Probably gonna be a lot of important and interesting things, man. But with that, here we go.
Grand Theft Auto 6.
Bro, we've been waiting for
trailer.
This forever, man.
It is dropped. And like every other self-respecting internet website and or YouTube channel, we got to talk about it. But that's the thing about Grand Theft Auto. It does cater to everyone. Including tech heads like us. And that's why I assembled a panel of, well, 2 other Digital Foundry members to talk about it. So first, we've got Oliver McKenzie there with the Vice City colored lighting in the background. Oliver.
Hey, it's good to be here as always. A little late for me, a little tired, but should be a fun discussion about a fantastic looking trailer, I'm sure you'll agree.
Bro. I love it.
Absolutely. And then, of course, we couldn't talk about graphics, you know, quote unquote, without the Battalion man himself. There he is.
Yeah. Even though this trailer doesn't apply to me. I mean,
that's true.
I'll be playing this game in 2038.
Actually, yeah, I woke up and checked my phone and saw sad Alex tears about the lack of a PC announcement. We'll get to that later. Unfortunately,
that was quote for that later. By the way, it's good.
Ooh, we do. Yeah. So first of all, we have to determine which one of you guys is going to be Florida Man today. Nobody wants to take it. All right, we'll just roll with it.
Popping, man. Yeah.
All right, so the first question here, though, and I guess the first comment is that the trailer looks freaking great.
It looks awesome.
Like, it is really excellent.
Awesome.
And I do want to say that that's kind of an accomplishment in and of itself. Just, I love how Rockstar has continued to push the envelope in terms of what you can expect visually from an open world game, which is really interesting that a game that's so popular with such a mainstream audience and such reach is still pushing the technical boundaries.
Yeah, they don't need to try. Look at Call of Duty, bro.
With these open world games. They did it with Red Dead Redemption 2, and it seems to be happening again here with GTA 6. So the first question is all this actually real time? Alex.
Yes. So I'm going to say that for like 80% of the trailer, it looks suitably easily done in real time on the current gen consoles, and the reason for that is there's like a certain level of this, and I think Oliver went through this. You described this after you watch the trailer, and then you watch it again and you start realizing things where, like, the first time you watch the trailer, like, the first giveaway that it is real time is like just breakup in the image quality, and it's usually seen around hair in the trailer, and that's always, hair is obviously really hard to render. It's detail that's smaller
it looks good
than a pixel, and it has aliasing in it.
Oh,
and
yeah.
when the characters move in the trailer, there's a variety of scenes where characters turn around. Those, like, characters with longer hair, for example, you can see it really easily. You can sometimes see it in, like, eyelashes and things like that. It's just, like, general breakup of image quality. And then, like, there's the second layer where you go back and you watch again, you're like, wait a minute. I mean, it is a 4K 30 video on YouTube, and YouTube, you know, has issues. It's not perfect, but there are some shots in the trailer. Like, there's a shot where the camera swoops over those bridges that connects Florida to the, I think it's the Florida Keys, those really long bridges. Weren't they in the movie True Lies? Am I mixing up movies?
Oh, Alex, they're also in real life. You just want to
they're also in real life, but it was also part of the James Cameron cinematic universe.
Oh, yeah.
And that shot there, I just looked at it. I was like, this doesn't look 4K to me.
No.
And then I thought about like GTA 5. And I remember when we covered that, I covered the initial thing of it adding shadows, and Oliver covered it again when they added ray trace reflections.
Yep.
And it seems like they're doing like internal res and then FSR, right? 1 up to native. Up to output or something like that?
It definitely did have that FSR1 look, weirdly enough. It may not actually be FSR1. It could just be some sort of contrast adaptive sharpening with basic bilinear, you know, upscale, right?
Which would look similar.
Which would look pretty similar.
Which would look similar. So the thing is, like, the trailer doesn't have like that perf pixel, pristine 4K look to it. It looks sub. native 4K. And obviously 4K is incredible. Sub resolutions can also still look good. The trailer still looks good in spite of that. But then there's this like tertiary layer. You go deeper. You stop the camera. You start counting pixels. There's a shot here when this woman turns around. This is the most pathetic pixel count I've probably done at Digital Foundry, where she turns around and on the lace of her top, you can see a 7 out of 10 stair step, or 6.5 stair step out of 10, which implies around 1440p. But then at the end of the trailer, there is a really great shot of the two presumably main characters in this game.
I assume so, yeah.
Whatever. And they bust down the door to this gas station convenience store, whatever.
Bodega.
And on the very top, as they go through the door, you can see that there's actually a very obvious pixel, stair step there. And if you count that, it's a long one. It's 40 pixels. I counted a 40 pixels thing, count there, sample. And it's 26 out of 40, which is a little below 1440p. Could be 27. It could be, actually be real 1440p since it's so imprecise there, the number I gave. But it's like sub-native, sub 4K, 1440p. Target seems to be 30 FPS based upon the trailer. These all seem very realistic to me. So I'd say like a lot of the trailer actually looks suitably real time.
Well, you say a lot, but I think everyone,
that's pretty good, man.
Oliver, you also noticed as well, is that there's those scenes where they sort of simulate the phone, where it's the vertical video, kind of TikTok-y style presentation, which actually fits really well with where GTA would presumably go. It's been 10 years since GTA 5, and it's interesting to see them integrate what has become cultural norms into the game. But those may not have been real time, you guys think, Oliver?
Yeah, I think they just look quite pristine. And just
they could just be heavily post-processed, though.
Yeah, that's true.
They kind of blur them intentionally. If you apply a nice Gaussian blur and some, chromatic aberration to it, it can look kind of rendered. But
yeah, I think it also, due to the way the motion blur looked, it reminded me a lot of, like those sequences in Cyberpunk where they have like the news cameras on like playing on like in the background on like televisions, and they show little snippets of the world there. It reminded me of the quality of that, where like
good call.
If you render out a video of a game like an Unreal Engine, you can have like perfect like motion blur sampling and all these things.
Right,
that's what it reminded me of.
But okay, so the thing here is that this all seems very realistic. Image quality isn't great, and it's only 30 frames per second, which on paper, that doesn't sound great. But the reason that that's actually good news is because everything else that's going on here is pretty intense. One of the first features that's evident right away in the trailer is that it does seem like they could actually be using proper ray traced global illumination. It could also be SSGI to some degree, but with the precision that you see in some of these scenes, I think it might be RTGI. Right away, there's that scene where it shows the main character in prison, the sunlight's pouring through the window, and the way it reflects off the different wall surfaces and the way her orange jumpsuit kind of reflects back on her face and how the lighting shifts. That's the kind of thing that wouldn't really be feasible with the more traditional non-RTGI style solutions. And Oliver, you were digging into this as well and found things like at the strip club. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, like at 29 seconds, the character feet in the strip club, you just have like this really fine lighting presentation and really like subtle occlusion that really makes it look kind of RTGI-ish. And there's some overhead shots as well of the buildings in daytime where you see obvious bounce. It's very large scale, so that could be any number of things, but certainly it would be consistent with an RTGI presentation as well.
But
I think the number one thing for me in terms of the RTGI is just that it's super consistent throughout.
Yeah,
like you don't see any issues with character models. You don't see any issues with dynamic objects. And I just think it's really that overall consistency to the presentation, the way that it's all brought together, that really makes me think that they are doing some kind of RTGI solution.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I tend to agree. And it's the lighting in a way kind of remind me of ray traced Cyberpunk to some degree, not path traced Cyberpunk, but it does does have some of those qualities. And if that's indeed the case, I think that's an awesome step for Rockstar, because it's going to make the game really, really shine visually. But man, just listening to us describe this, talking about like, yeah, it's 29 seconds in the strip club, you look in the foot. Like, I feel like we've almost become a parody of ourselves. And like,
I know. I immediately thought I was like, that's why I said like that most pathetic pixel count I've done in my entire
This really
life.
is. This could be a parody video of Digital Foundry with the way we're talking.
Did you guys
about
look at the 6 pixels on the side of the person's head at 16 seconds?
Did you see the hair on Florida Man's back?
So good looking. Did you? But the one thing I'm actually curious about with RTGI is obviously there's limitations just in general, like of how you would get these things running in real time. There's a lot of aspects. The other aspects we'll talk about.
So when they use the Rage engine
in the distance, like you can have RTGI close to the camera in a lot of games, and like if you go back to that Matrix demo, I think they extended it to like
this is from the Rage engine,
like 150 to 200 meters. Out, like into the camera distance here, but there's a couple shots in the trailer where you can see even at like a pretty far range, there's evidence of like large scale occlusion from skylighting and also large scale bounce lighting from the sun. And there, I'm just curious to like see like if it's all RTGI or if it's a combination of systems, because you would expect them to have to cut corners maybe somewhere.
It could very well be. Absolutely. Yeah. I think my favorite shot for just pure like realism though has to be around 27 seconds when they're rolling through the neighborhood there with the blue sky and all the cars parked in the street. Like it's just extremely eye-catching. And man, if you actually kind of squint at it, it looks almost real. Like it has a photoreal look to it. And just looking at all these cars, by the way, did you guys notice how good the car paint is in this? Nice. Like the way they simulate the little speckles in the paint and the light sort of penetrating the clear coat and reflecting back. It's genuinely fantastic, which was also true of Cyberpunk, I would say. So,
Cyberpunk's another game with great looking cars.
But there's also evidence that there might be more to this than just RTGI, and that there seems to be evidence of ray traced reflections in many scenes, possibly with SSR mixed in, because if you look closely, you will see some disocclusion artifacts here and there. But by and large, there are reflections in scenes that wouldn't necessarily be feasible with just screen space or cube maps. Although, technically things like rear view mirrors, which if you look in some of these scenes, you'll see like rear view mirrors, they could always do render to texture or something like that, like a driving game. But, if they're doing this for everything else,
it doesn't expensive.
It would be very expensive and stupid in an open world game, I think, especially when there's so many
just have this one little mirror re-rendering the entire world.
So
that'd be dumb.
I think based on this, it's very likely we are also looking at ray traced reflections. Alex, what do you think?
Yeah. Oliver pointed out a couple of these to me too, because like one thing is when you're looking for ray traced effects in a trailer, a lot of the camera angles can be extremely flattering to screen space effects or other techniques. So that's why you have to look for things that you just know are not possible with the other techniques. Oliver had a really good point, for example, there's that one side mirror on the car where you can definitely see off screen a car moving in it. Like it's like a white car moving by in it. Yeah. That's something that you realistically, you wouldn't do a render to texture there. That'd be such a waste. RT is much more elegant for that.
At 52 seconds specifically, we also see there's the man dancing in the street, and it is just like the cell phone footage, but you see that tow truck looking thing drive by, and you can see it properly reflected beneath his legs where he's doing the crotch grab.
So it's called Leonida.
The way we're talking about this,
that's where I thought it'd be Vice City.
What are we doing?
Leonida.
Look at the reflection of the crotch grab.
There's also a naked man jogging, I think, through a gas station, and just for one frame at the end of it, you can see that a white truck is blocking off his body, but there's still a reflection underneath the truck, so that's also indicative. But also elsewhere, we do see, curiously, what look like screen space artifacts. So maybe it's being layered in or on some surfaces, like maybe larger bodies of water. Maybe they actually don't use ray tracing. It's not totally clear, right, John?
Yeah, that's right. Like, for instance, one of the things that stood out was the flamingos. I think it's at around 20 seconds. If you look closely at the water, there are some evidence of SSR sort of artifacts, disocclusion artifacts that you would get. It's hard to say because of how quickly cut this trailer is. But my best guess is that they are doing some form of RT reflection and also overlaying SSR, which is kind of pretty standard, I think, because you do get a little bit more precision. And also typically, you know, things like particle effects, alpha effects, things like that, those don't easily trace into ray traced reflections, obviously. So you would want SSR to layer that into the scene so that everything's more consistent. And that, I think that works pretty well, because as long as they line up quite smoothly, it's not that distracting, versus SSR by itself, or SSR layered on a cube map where they don't align at all, and then when it disoccludes, it's just like, oh, it's a huge gap. It looks terrible.
Especially in an open world game where you couldn't possibly have the cube maps everywhere you want them to be.
No, you would have to use a lot of generic cube maps. I mean, you could do Insomniac's original Spider-Man did okay enough with that. They used a ton of cube maps, but even then, obviously, very approximate and very limited, and that's why they moved away from it.
If you go back to GTA 5, actually, in December of last year, they added in RT reflections to that game. Right. On consoles, of course, not on PC, Alex, but only on consoles.
Oh, that's really frustrating.
But that game combined real-time cube maps captured from the player location with RT reflections out to a very limited distance. So the problem there is you get that discontinuity, right, when you're combining those two elements. Didn't look very good. Now here, with this more ray tracing centric solution that's probably not relying on that fallback, you're going to have really great reflections across the entire environment, it looks like. And it's just great. Yeah, it's just, especially for like distant buildings and stuff like that, just like we saw in Spider-Man, having perspective correct reflections that are detailed all throughout the environment makes such a big difference in like a cityscape with big glass towers, right?
Right. Just the cohesiveness.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Like, this game is not Red Dead Redemption. A lot of people always point back to Red Dead Redemption like, this looks better than X game that released today. But a lot of that is also just the artistic environment in that game. It's like a lot of diffused materials, rolling hills, not a lot of like huge occluding buildings and structures. And that's where lighting gets super complex.
Yep.
And that's where traditional techniques fail the hardest. And yeah, Red Dead Redemption 2 is a really great looking game, but it has like a lot of aspects of it that make old school rendering work better with it than definitely would work with GTA 6.
Yeah, I mean, not to discount the work that went into that game, because it is stunning, for sure. But yes, that type of naturalistic environment tends to work really well with more traditional rasterized techniques. Glass, metal buildings on this large scale and all these angles. This stuff is a nightmare, and developers have struggled with it for a long time. I would say CD Projekt Red was one of the first to really kind of solve it with its ray tracing work done on Cyberpunk 2077. For sure. So I'm not surprised that Rockstar would want to take a similar approach and push it as far as they could. And it does seem to be what they're doing here, for sure. So I like that a lot. But then not everything does appear to be ray traced. And you actually noticed this right at the end of the trailer, I think, Alex. It's it does seem to be using shadow maps, basically.
Yeah, and this is a little bit surprising.
What are shadow maps?
Well, not so. Given everything else in the trailer, if there's ray traced reflections, if there's RTGI, something's got to give.
Something's got to give.
But like, so like, Oliver pointed out in the notes and did really well in the trailer that there's a lot of shots like where you don't see some of the hallmarks of ray traced shadows that you'd expect, like the really nice like tapered shadow where it starts off hard and gets a bit softer. Red Dead Redemption 2 and GTA 5 PC did that originally with like the soft shadow options the games have, but not to the same precision that you'd get from a ray traced effect, which is what GTA 5 on consoles eventually added, covered in a video by us as well. And here you just don't really kind of see that in the trailer. And then there's a very specific example that John just mentioned right now. At the end of the trailer, you look at the top left corner as they open the door, bam, on the opaque door, I don't know, frame there, you can see what is just obviously a shadow map alias. And once again, we're zooming into the corners of an image.
It makes
we are not a parody of Digital Foundry. We are Digital
This
Foundry.
is probably why I enjoyed the Blade Runner adventure game from Westwood back in the day, because you spent a lot of time zooming in on things just like in the movie, basically. I'm like, wait a minute, no wonder I like this game so much, because that's what we do here.
Zoom!
Now, this is like taking pixel peeping to a new level, but what can I say?
I will peep those pixels, John. I will peep those pixels.
So, shadows, not that exciting. it'll get the job done for sure. And I'm not surprised that they had to give, even though they did RT shadows on GTA 5, but something they had to give, as you say. But I think one of the more visually impressive features in this is something that our hair care expert Oliver here, who has a lot of experience with long flowing locks, noticed. It's the hair simulation.
Yeah, the hair sim. The hair sim just looks incredible. Again, we're going to have to go back to a shot. You know, maybe it's a little bit suspect. But at 38 seconds, if you go to that shot, the way that character's hair moves here, it's flowing so unbelievably well. And it doesn't, there's no like visible clipping. It's all moving in just like this really nice manner. I think John likened it to truss effects, which I totally agree with. Like, it looks amazing. Now, if you look through this trailer, you'll see a lot of really great evidence of great hair physics throughout. This is the best example. You'll also see like some, looks like dithering patterns on the hair. Like, it's not, you know, the cleanest, but obviously that's a hard problem to solve. I mean, truss effects is kind of an old tech. I think in more recent games, we have not seen this attempt to really model long flowing hair in this really great way. So this is really cool to see.
We've seen a lot of games shift to a strand-based model that's extremely detailed and allows this like fine-grained zoom without any visible artifacts, really. But there hasn't been much of a focus on actually simulating the motion of hair, which is kind of a different problem to solve, I suppose.
That's gonna be a lot.
It is. It's really only been the FIFA games, but they have a limit to hair length, I think. The reason for a game like this, and it was when they were doing Star Citizen presentations years ago, they mentioned that one of the things about, you can get like one character in a scene with like strand-based hair, and then you like, what about the other characters, right?
Yeah.
One, you have to have the art to do that, and then two, you have to have the performance. So I'd be curious how they're doing it here. If it is like strand-based, it doesn't look it. Maybe it's
I actually don't think it doesn't necessarily look strand-based, and I think that's why it's kind of artifacty.
Yeah, it's kind of dithery looking.
Right, it has that dithered out, like, yeah.
In scenes in this game, you can see like there's just tons of characters on screen. It's not just like one character.
They all have
a soliloquy. No, they all have this hair.
This is nuts.
So it's really well done, in spite of that dithered look, and really cool to see them push it further, because Red Dead Redemption 2, that's probably like one of the things that dates it the most, is like the character rendering. And the hair and stuff like that. So the beard looked okay in the game, but it didn't move or anything.
One other really cool shot here is at 52 seconds, again, that green truck, where you see this guy with just this crazy like dreads, and his hair is just going nuts in the wind. And like, I can't remember the last time I saw that in a game, hair actually moving in a violent manner in the wind. And maybe from a different angle, it would look a little glitchy or not so great. But I think that's just so cool that Rockstar is willing to go out and say, yeah, we're going to have like really crazy hair sim in the wind. Show you something cool. You haven't seen it in a while.
There's usually there's usually some like restraints to prevent that. Like, it can only go like so far horizontal, or self intersections don't occur, so you want to have like it not move too much. It's a lot of good stuff here.
That shot, by the way, again, the green truck, the paint on the truck there, right? First of all, you do have the RT reflection.
What's that, candy paint?
Mirror there in the truck door, which is cool. But like the paint shading
that's candy paint.
Look at that. That's so good looking. I mean, that looks better than some dedicated driving games, as you know.
Yeah, it really does. As we know.
It's quite impressive, I gotta say. Actually, the material work there in general, like the way, like the plastic rim to the door to the right of the window itself, like it looks suitably plasticky, like what you'd expect in a car. And I'm just
that's true.
With the quality of the vehicle rendering in this trailer, and obviously you're going to spend a lot of time doing vehicles.
In vehicles.
And we haven't seen Rockstar do vehicles since GTA 5, right? So this is again. I guess that's kind of the thing to remember here, is that we don't know what Grand Theft Auto would have looked like on a PS4 or an Xbox One, like, because the game we did get on there, that's a PS3 360 game.
That's true,
right?
That is
true. It has
those
enhancements, but that's
that whole generation.
This is actually something built for the new machines, and we've not seen it for so long.
True.
So it's really crazy to see what they're doing here. I'd be curious to know when they really, really, truly kicked off development on this game. Because wow,
I would also be curious. Yeah,
man, I also love that shot where they're in the intersection, doing sort of the donuts in the middle. with the car, and you see all the smoke kicking up at night, and it's just kind of like filling the scene. That looks pretty good. There's so many things, but then of course there's the characters, Great Alex, that are like, the characters look really good, but it's obviously very clearly going for like stylized realism rather than actual like photorealism.
Yeah, 100%. It's a little bit in the proportions of some aspects of the face, a little bit. Like everyone looks a little bit. I don't know how to describe it. Someone put a comment on this web zone about what that is. I don't know what type of realism that is.
I think the eyes in particular are a little bit more prominent in the face, and then you have like this super smooth skin on all the characters, like relatively blemish-free skin. And I kind of contrast this because I think this is really good looking rendering, right? Just because it's stylized doesn't mean it doesn't look great. But if you look at something like, The Matrix Awakens, that's going for a very photoreal look, right?
Oh, okay,
still great looking rendering, fantastic looking rendering, very photoreal. This looks great.
Alan Wake
very
2,
stylized. Alan Wake, yeah, Alan Wake 2 as well.
Looking at it again, like at the prison section right at the beginning of the video, the rendering kind of reminds me of Spider-Man, Insomniac's games, where they have these very detailed characters, but they're very clearly not designed to look like real, right? That's kind of what this reminds me of. And by the way, that I guess corrections officer or whoever it is at the beginning there, when parole officer, when she turns around and then goes into the office there and she's sitting at the desk, her hair, that's incredible. Like the way they've got all the little curls in there and everything bobbing around so realistically, like that kind of hair done at that level, that's awesome. That genuinely looks amazing. All the hair in this game looks absolutely killer. That's such a huge focus.
Killer hair.
And yet, despite that, they have these gigantic crowds full of, as the Simpsons would say, gigantic asses as well, bouncing around all over the place. That's how they roll, I guess, in this world. And that's also, I guess, impressive. Now, we don't see any actual like gameplay moving around the city, so I'm curious to see how it scales. But the crowd scenes, that's far, far more dense than we've seen in any prior GTA game.
Actually,
and due to the nature of what Red Dead Redemption 2 was, we never really saw any truly crowded scenes in that game either, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
in comparison to,
I mean, what do you think on this, Oliver? I think it's pretty interesting what we're seeing here.
Yeah, I mean, I think that like when you look at some of these scenes, like at 22 seconds, you do see like huge crowds, like 50 plus people in a given space, in a given frame of the camera. And that's just so intense. I have to wonder, like, maybe this is a bit of that vaunted current-gen CPU power being put to good use, because I don't know that we've seen really that big increase in scale of simulation. But here it looks like maybe we're seeing that. And that could maybe also suggest that, hey, this might not be a 60 FPS experience either, because this is really intense stuff, right?
It's a lot.
Yeah, and I think, if they're going to have lighting consistency throughout the world, just as an expectations management, like if they want to just art the game one time, people hate it when I use that verb, by the way. I always get comments under videos like, don't use the word art as a verb, Alex. But I will. If they're going to art the game once, then they're going to not want to rely on different solutions. And the chance of them, trying to reach 60 FPS with RTGI, we've seen this generation so far that it is almost a bridge too far for every single game.
Yeah.
Almost, like for almost every game. It's pretty rare that it pans well. So here, definitely 60 FPS. And I think if they want to really do push the open world environment and a lot of stuff that the trailer just won't show here because it's not gameplay, they're not going to show any sort of the, like, okay, what are the new physics things? What are the new animation things? They've always kind of pushed these things with each GTA version since, I don't know, 4. So these are all the things they don't show in the trailer, and those are other aspects that say, like, okay, we need to use this new CPU power of this current generation of consoles. So I'd expect 30 FPS based on this trailer. Another thing I'm also kind of expecting on the trailer, too, is that weren't some of the original GTA 5 trailers, like, a lot of the cinematic aspects from just the intro of the game?
Yeah, that was
they were just like a lot of those vignettes from the game's intro?
I think like on the beach and whatnot.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking about. I'm curious if this is all like early game stuff. So there's a lot actually that we're not seeing here.
Yes. That's probably an intro to the game.
I'm also a little bit curious, like, because we know this game is 2 years out, and all this stuff looks like extremely polished. And obviously they work on the trailer specifically, but I do wonder the extent to which the content here was created for the trailer, especially some of the more cinematic moments.
Yeah, it's probably an introduction to the game, bro.
You know, you can have something that looks great and is running even in real time, but it might not be representative of the final product in every single way. I don't think that's the case here. I think this is probably pretty representative of the final product.
Me personally, I think the game almost
some of the small compromises that we do see.
Yep.
But I do wonder if this is actually like, you know, reflective of actual scenes you see in the game, or if it's actually been sculpted for a preview,
a trailer.
Yeah. Probably somewhat sculpted, I would say. But, you know, Rockstar has a pretty good track record for this stuff. Like, I'm actually looking at the GT5 reveal trailer here, GTA 5. It looks consistent with how the game shipped on PS3 and 360. And lots of the same rendering artifacts you would expect from those machines that were in the final game. But then also stuff like the Red Dead Redemption 2, all the media for that ended up being accurate to how the game looks.
Yeah, they don't lie.
So I feel pretty confident that they wouldn't put out a trailer at this point that just goes beyond. And all those compromises we've spotted suggest that this is at least a realistic target for what they're trying to achieve. So
I agree.
I think we can expect that.
Yeah.
And man, just looking at this beach scene again, right at the beginning of the trailer, around 20 seconds or so.
They have a little dog.
If you actually look all the way down the coast, there's like umbrellas and just detail stretching all the way down.
I didn't see that little chihuahua running too.
That looks. This is that beach scene in particular looks really spot on.
That's dope.
Yeah, this once again, like we haven't seen this engine.
I cannot wait.
Target this type of content as in a modern day city with all the density and
I think Spider-Man
things that means since GTA 5, and GTA 5 was a game built around the PS360. So there's a lot to be seen still, a lot of power to be shown.
Based on that, then, I think what we can expect is this game's going to come out in 2025 on those consoles. It's going to look great. Then in 2026 or 2027, maybe PC. 2026 it'll show up on PC.
Or Switch.
And then after that, at some point, we'll be getting to the new consoles, and then we'll get a new console version of that, which also might receive updates on the PC, maybe.
Yeah.
And then it'll also then show up again on the PlayStation 7.
7.5?
The 7. Maybe the PlayStation 7 Pro will be the final update for GTA 6. I mean, the development cycles are getting a bit longer. Right now.
Okay, yeah.
So I think we've covered a lot of this trailer. We did a really good job there. The one joke I wanted to make is that this is currently not announced for PC. So I did a little fuzzy napkin math this morning by just staring at the Steam hardware survey, and I found that something like 10.85% of all PCs, according to the November survey, are 3080 class GPU or better. That's really powerful hardware.
Man. My PC's
There's
nowhere close to that.
Million active users on Steam. So you get something like, I don't know, you get something like a little bit more than 10 million 3080s. This is announced for Series X and Series S. There's only been something like 20 million Series consoles sold to date or something like that. So there's arguably more RTX 3080s out there than Series X's. Yet, PC waits.
Just
wanted to throw that out.
Yeah, I mean, as of September, there's 21 million units between Series X and Series S.
And you know there's way more Series S sold than Series X.
I think it's like a 60-40 split or something like that.
Yeah. So there's definitely more RTX 3080 class or better GPUs out there than Series X.
Ouch.
Yeah, and then obviously the Series S is the minimum there. There's probably 100 million PCs that are better than that.
The reason for this is pretty simple, and it kind of sucks. It's just like, Rockstar know they can do this.
Yeah,
they're going to do the console version, and then the PC version will become its own event thing. Yeah. And a lot of people that bought it on the console will buy it again.
Simple, right? Especially people that have Xbox.
And it'll also get interest, which will spark more sales again on the other
money.
They know what they do. They know what they're doing.
Money,
when you look at the numbers of GTA 5, like it or not, like they know how to get that bag, so to speak. Like. They're very, very good at that. And it does suck because it would be really nice to have this on PC on day one.
Day one, yep.
Obviously, it's not going to happen. I'm super curious to see what this means for Series S, though. Like, what this will look like on there. Like, obviously it has to work.
Yeah, Rockstar, it's gonna be alright.
This is gonna be a serious push for that system, I think, and it'll be fascinating to see it.
30 FPS target, 1440p-ish res so far on some nebulous next-gen console.
Whatever, it's probably a PS5, Xbox Series X target, the trailer, I would say.
Yeah.
I'd agree with that.
So we could assume maybe 720p target.
That sounds really realistic to me, based on
if
all
they
the
want
other
to keep.
games we've seen.
I feel
so
like
far.
if they're going this hard on these ray tracing effects, they can't really just like rip them out either. You can't just say, "Oh, I'm going to turn this off." Like, you need a fallback, and you need to. I'm sorry, art it the right way with the fallback for it to look good. So I think this is one of those cases where they're going to have to make it work. So we'll see what that means.
I think you would really rather have a game that is like visibly softer and blurrier, but still retains the visual character of the higher end console versions, rather than something that looks like fundamentally different but is a little sharper. I'd definitely take the soft.
Yeah, and just the amount of extra work they'd have to do to make that fallback version, I think, probably not worth it just for one machine. So, and I would like to think that they wouldn't make the choices they've made thus far without considering the Series S, right? They know that's an important machine. So I think everything we're seeing here is going to have to work somewhat, at least hopefully consistently across them all, with differences in image quality. So
right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Either way, gentlemen, I think we've talked about this quite enough. We've really pushed the limit of what Digital Foundry is all about here with the way we're talking about this trailer. It's
this 1 minute long trailer. I don't even know how long
it's like 90 seconds or something. And boy, this is generating content. We have generated content based on this trailer. But it was fun to talk about.
Content.
I'm actually pretty interested.
Even people that never
despite
video games.
That's the thing. Rockstar. They helped popularize open world games, and I've expressed disinterest at many open worlds, but Rockstar knows how to make an open world, a level, this place you want to go to that's very interesting and fun to engage with. They are truly one of the masters of this, and one of the few to truly nail what it means, like the point of the open world, to make this type of experience that just sort of the game world pushes back on the player in interesting ways that just makes every interaction enjoyable to some degree. And that's really hard to do. And a lot of open world games do not do this. So I do have a lot of confidence that what they're going to do here will be very fun, very beautiful, and can't wait to see more. And I'm sure we'll have another one of these videos where we dig into whatever scraps we
trailer
get.
2.
Trailer 2. Yeah. I'm so hyped for trailer 2.
Too.
I can't wait.
Trailer 2, gosh.
Coming 2024, trailer 2. Maybe trailer 3 even. I don't know.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Either way,
before 2.
Thanks for joining me on this, gentlemen. It was a pleasure.
It was great.
And we'll see you next time.
Yes, sir. Yo, guys, man, thank you guys for watching this video, sticking around, man. That was a great video. I had to watch it. These guys are expert, man. And when it comes to like breaking this down, I think they're graphic wise, these guys are the go-to guys, man. So definitely check out the original video. The link will be in the description. Go subscribe to their channel, man. Great channel. They cover everything video game. And if you guys enjoy this video and want me to react to more of them Digital Foundry videos, let me know, and I definitely got you guys. But subscribe, leave a like, leave a comment. GTA 5 coming, I say soon. Time go by fast. So yeah, subscribe again. And with that, your boys out of here. Definitely check out my playlist for GTA 6, man. Peace.